welcome to Framework. I am Al Schwartz. With me, as always, is John Bernard.
Hey, what's up? Me.
What's up is we just finished up with the first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the latest Game of Thrones spinoff. And we both were watching it and liked it, right?
Yes, very much. I thought it was
Everybody
fun.
seems to like it, I think.
Yeah, It's pretty unobjectionable, is the thing.
It's feel-good Game of Thrones. That's the thing that was not clear if it was possible, but is sort of what everybody has always been asking for. I think it's a case of, I'm not sure audiences knowing like what they want and what they need or what they actually like is two different things. Because
right.
Like, yes, the hardest part of Game of Thrones is that it's hard to watch. And it is such a bummer sometimes. And that's the least enjoyable part of it. But it's also an essential part of the recipe. Or so I would have thought, at least going into this.
Well, I don't know that this is a total feel-good situation. I think that
there are things to feel bad about.
Yeah, there's melancholy. There, every success is tempered with something bad. I think that the main thing here is that there's a really likable main character. That is our perspective character, and we follow him around the whole time. That they've never done before. Exactly.
Well, yes, he is as pure of a good guy as since Jon Snow. And
I like him more than Jon Snow. Yeah. I think that the entire success of this is the casting of the lead character here. They nailed it. They spiked it with this guy. He is perfect for what this show's ambitions are, and it's very easy to root for him, which is necessary for this story to work.
I think that the success of the casting goes farther than that, and that's a part of the appeal of the show. Like the things that could be bit parts and forgettable parts are really well cast. I am kind of distraught that we're apparently not going to see any more of Lionel Baratheon from this point on, because from what I've gathered about the books, he doesn't appear in any of the other ones, but you almost wonder if realize the TV production are such, they'll be like, we got to bring this guy back somehow. Hell, give him his own show. Why not?
Felt like they were setting him up for more stuff later, honestly. I mean, it's a really fun characterization, and the guy is notable, has sort of a Jason Schwartzman quality to him. It's he's one of the many standouts of this cast. Yeah.
That's funny. A Jason Schwartzman quality, except if Jason Schwartzman were like big and tough and kind of louche, I guess. I don't. None of the things that really are the Jason Schwartzman vibe, and yet you say that I do see it somehow.
I couldn't quite pinpoint it, but he's got a thing. It's fun that he's a Baratheon. That we can see a little of previous Baratheons in him, a little bit. Which is kind of, that's always the fun of these, honestly, is these different houses, and you get actors that it clearly fits in the Targaryens, all that stuff. That's part of the fun here.
Yeah. Well, I thought that the Targaryens were very well cast, too, pretty much across the board, I thought.
Across the board, yes. The whole cast, frankly, is really strong. Like, every single person. A little redheaded prostitute that ends up marrying Mr. Fossaway. She's great, All these people are really fun. So... that's always been a strength of Game of Thrones. I guess not in House of the Dragon so much. I wouldn't point that as one of their massive successes there.
House of the Dragon has not overcome its biggest hurdle, which is we have to cast like 15 to 20 different people to wear these stupid silver wigs.
Sure.
And they have to overcome those wigs. It's just an uphill fight. And, Game of Thrones, the original, only had to deal with it with a couple, the odd character here and there. I mean, it was
Khaleesi and pointedly weirdos. Yeah. As opposed to everyone.
Yes.
That is not the biggest.
And unfortunately, it gives them a samey look too, which is not. I mean, on top of looking stupid, they look the same, which is a problem. These guys get around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's as that kid says. Look, I'm going to fuck up these names. I know. Sure. 6 years ago, I could have told you who the Fossaways were Banner Knights under. I could have told you exactly. Not anymore. All that stuff is kind of gone in the out files, I'm afraid. So
I believe they're from the Reach, so they are ultimately under the Lords Paramount, which is the Tyrells. But they're probably sub-vassals to the High Towers or maybe the Red Wines.
Yeah, that stuff I'm getting a little fuzzy on, I have to admit. But he makes it. The Fossways are of note here, and they land their moment. I love how he describes the Targaryens, which is kind of like something I've been waiting for somebody to say on Game of Thrones forever, which is just like, no, they're freakish aliens that came here and killed us all. Fuck them. Which is that was great.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people would say something like that periodically in original Game of Thrones, but because part of what that was doing is trying to keep us on Khaleesi's side up until the very end, the people who had voiced that were sort of like framed as being bigoted or small-minded peasant talk.
But now we've seen House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
You know? Now we've seen what
well,
these
and we've
people
seen
in
the end of
charge
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, sure. Right. The best thing he could do for the realm is finish on his wife's chest. Good line.
Well, so I want to compare this show, though. Another show I just watched recently is Wonder Man. The latest Marvel thing on Disney Plus, getting very good reviews.
Yes,
it's a pretty good show.
Everyone seemed to like it. I have not seen a drop of it, not a bit.
So it's all about Simon Williams being a struggling actor trying to get a job who happens to have superpowers, and it is a lot of the praising for it is that it's the superpowers feel very incidental. Like there is, I think he gets into a fight in an alley with a couple of people in one episode, and that's the extent of the action sequences. He never really flexes his powers the entire 8-episode series, whatever it was.
And that was like little half-hour episodes, just like Night of the Seven. Yes. Right? It was, yeah. I like this. I like this development. I got to say.
Well, and let's come back to the length of Night of the Seven's Kingdoms in a little bit, but
right, it's a little complicated. I know,
but it did okay. So, and it also called to mind Andor in a way for me. That
oh wow, high praise.
These things, well, not that these are comparable in quality, but Wonder Man, Andor, Night of Seven Kingdoms. Okay. All of these are well-reviewed shows and seem well-liked, and they're all seem to be celebrated to some extent for not fitting in with their respective franchises.
Yeah.
For their departures in the tone and scope.
Sure.
And I like all of them to some degree. I mean, I fucking love Andor, and I'm very pleased with Night of Seven Kingdoms. Wonder Man I'm more iffier about because, okay, so all these kind of raise a question of, does this story need to be part of this shared universe? Like, is it better off for being connected to that other thing?
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird that the answer to that is different in different ways for all. So Andor, I think, is the easiest. Yes.
And of course.
In large part, I think the broader Star Wars universe is better off for this story being part of it. And with 97 Kingdoms, it wasn't apparent right away for me exactly what the answer was, but by the half point, I was going, yes, okay, this actually does fit in with the broader Westeros, whatever, despite the very different scope.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. And Wonder Man is the only one where I'm like, actually, this might be worse off for being part of the MCU because I'm kind of going, but it seems like he almost doesn't need to have the powers at all here. Like there is plot points around that, and the Ben Kingsley character is being sort of sent to entrap him to expose his powers because he's hiding them. But it's like, I don't know, that the story doesn't seem that interested in that. And ultimately, it kind of like it seems to succeed independently of the Marvel thing. And Night of Seven Kingdoms, you could do this in a different fantasy world or medieval setting without even dragons involved. But would that version be better, appreciably better, worse to you?
Yes, because I think that one of the smartest things this does is make a virtue of our understanding of the house dynamics. And even if I'm fuzzy on them, on who the Fossways are, I still know who the Targaryens are. I know who the Baratheons are. I know how the Hedge Knight system works. I know, the basic geography of what we're doing here. And bringing all of that as sort of luggage to this invests it with a lot of weight and importance and interest, frankly. I think that the Aegon character works considerably better than he would have just on his own. If that was just like that character becomes a lot more interesting and potent with the knowledge that he ultimately becomes the old man in the Night's Watch that Jon interacts with. Maybe he sees some of Sir Duncan.
That's actually his brother.
Oh, for fuck. Oh, God damn it. Okay, fine.
Sorry.
There's the other one then, huh? Well, shit.
I don't know. And I also don't know how to treat spoilers for this stuff, because there is source material that I guess, like, this is all sort of public domain, but the show treats the reveal of him as the prince as a reveal. So maybe I should go along with the idea that we don't know what's going to happen to these characters.
I mean, I'm sure the name is the same there, right? I mean, which
it's Aemon and Aegon.
Yeah, I'm fucked. I'm not gonna. Yeah, okay. This is I guess that stuff departing me a little bit, but
you're hitting on the thing, which is if this you could tell the same story in medieval England, and if it's the kings or the princes that show up to this tournament are just tutors or whatever.
Sure,
that does not carry the same weight as Targaryens. I know there's a whole lot. I know more baggage.
I know more about the Targaryens than the Tudors. Yes, I do too.
and that family dynamic plays it, and kind of knowing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think it goes beyond that, though. I think that the just our knowledge of what Game of Thrones is, and and the way that that honor works in Westeros, that it usually isn't rewarded, that things aren't always going to work out, in sort of a way, because it is deconstructive, informs this and adds a certain tension to the events, even as we said, this is basically an upbeat little story here, about this guy kind of, having a positive, is it though?
By this franchise's standards, absolutely it is.
Right.
But those knowing what those standards are you're right, give it a whole different flavor, and gives more, I think, resonance and kind of strength to the idea that this guy is paddling upstream with his trying to stick these ideas of chivalry and honor in this world.
If you put this in a different medieval context, you have to kind of reestablish that worldview, whereas it's already baked into Westeros. It's what we understand about Westeros. And to see this character kind of trying to do what he's after in that world, there's a certain tragedy to it just from the outset, like he's ultimately going to have to compromise in some way here, right? Or not. I don't know. I guess that is the tension of this series. Is what are Dunk's ideals going to look like here? I mean, we know a little bit about him. There's some context for who Sir Duncan ends up being in the original show. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not either, though.
Again, that's how we don't have to. There's throwaway. I mean, I think it's the same scene actually. Maybe no, it's two different scenes, but they both come from Joffrey as scenes where he has kind of throwaway lines in the original series.
Spoiled both the other shows. Yes.
Yes. What a little shit. He's managed to spoil House of the Dragon and Night of Seven Kingdoms.
That's fun.
Incidentally, I'm still shaking my fist at that character from Beyond the Grave.
Joffrey, by the way, few shows have the facility for creating hissable villains as quickly and efficiently as Game of Thrones has proven to do. The bad guys in this, you're immediately just like, oh, fuck that guy.
That's true. The bad Fossaway, the rotten apple, as
he's great.
Sort of just immediately like, oh, this fucking prick.
And I got bought in by his face turn, and then was again disappointed by his second heel turn.
But that is also that's I think an area where the Game of Thrones baggage was really helpful to that, because in a more standard medieval setting that had not set up any expectations beforehand, I would have been more wary about that face turn. Be like, I don't know, they've really sold that guy as a prick to begin with, and it doesn't seem like they have time to turn him into a hero or whatever. But in this context, I'm like, well, but that's what Game of Thrones is always sort of constantly turning over stones and being like, well, but what about this character that presents as such a prick actually saved the entire city when no one was looking? And what if this guy who everybody thinks is great, turns out to be a terrible husband or something? It's always looking to put those spins on it, which can extend to, oh, this guy who seemed like a prick has his own his own particular code of honor or just hatred for the Targaryens, which amount to the same thing. And you could buy that as a turn.
Yep.
And then it turns right back, of course, because most people turn out to be bastard code of bastards with bastard filling in this world.
Indeed. It's just fun to kind of live here again without also the sort of larger kind of expectations of plot and narrative and branching storylines. And I was a little surprised that we never left this fucking tourney. That the whole season was just at this one location.
Just the flashbacks.
Yeah, but they looked like they were shot, a mile down the road. We're getting one place. It's one narrative. It could be a movie if they wanted, and that worked for me. That totally worked for me. That it was so small in scope and scale, and I think that is what the big divergence is between this and the original show. I think the rest kind of fits in, even with the likable main character. We've seen likable main characters in Game of Thrones, but we've never seen this sort of brevity, I guess, to the point where maybe it shouldn't even be a show. I did think a few times.
That's true. This might ultimately have been more effective as a 2-hour movie, but
it would have been easy to make it 2 hours. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was struck by, though, you're right. These are 30-minute episodes, basically. You get fooled because you turn it, even when you turn on streaming and you see a 40-minute runtime, but then you realize it ends at 29 minutes. You realize, oh, they have like a 5-minute featurette after the credits or whatever.
Exactly.
But watching these 30-minute episodes, they didn't feel short to me.
No,
it almost felt like the length of a regular Game of Thrones episode, and I was wondering why that was. I think it is a function of the scope. That because there's not a bunch of different storylines and locations to be hopping around between, the pace we've come to expect from a Game of Thrones show is different. Like, if we ever spent 26 minutes of screen time with Tyrion in a single episode of Game of Thrones, that would feel like a ton of time. That's like half a season's worth of time with that character. And we get that every week. That's part of why. So these feel like very full meals to me, even at half the length.
And I think that's, I think a function of keeping not just the scope of the action small, but just the locus of our viewing. Like, we barely leave Duncan's POV.
Yes.
There's a little bit of Aegon, a little bit. Occasionally he has scenes without Duncan, but mostly not. Mostly it's just Duncan. And if we ever are away from either of those two, it's brief. Very brief, just plot necessary stuff. Between
I'm trying to think if we ever actually are.
There's a couple Targaryen scenes, I think, near the end. Maybe.
Are there? I mean, but do we have Egg there for when those?
He might be eavesdropping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, yeah. Point stands.
Sure.
It's a very, very tight focus, and yeah. I think these would, if they were an hour long, this show would feel incredibly bloated.
Yes, I think an hour would be would feel interminable almost.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably an 80-page novella that they're adapting here. I'm guessing. Have you read the Duncan Egg Chronicles, by the way?
I have not, but I have, by osmosis, gathered sort of what their vibe is and they where the other ones will be set.
I'm curious. I'm kind of thinking about picking them up now. Honestly, it seems kind of fun.
It does seem like it sounds like, spoilers. None of the other people who aren't Duncan Egg, the Fossaways, the Baratheon guy, none of them show up in the other novels.
Interesting.
Which seems like a shame. Like, I would, at this point, probably be more interested in a next season that went home with Lionel Baratheon, or went to see the Fossaways having their little family rift that's going to break them into two kind of warring branches of the same house. Seems like you could do 6-episode miniseries about those that might be more immediately interesting to me than just seeing what Duncan Egg do around the next corner. But obviously those stories already exist, so I'm sure they're good enough.
I guess it does sort of beg the question: Have we reached like Star Wars at this point with Westeros, with Game of Thrones, where it is a setting, not a genre? It is you can kind of do anything here. Like, I mean, the amount of information we have about how this world works is kind of just a benefit to any story you want to tell. It's table setting, it's something that you can bring in, and you don't have to establish a complicated lore. You can kind of just hit the ground running and tell very different kind of stories. I don't know if it goes as far.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as malleable. It's strange. I mean, I don't know if it's as malleable as Star Wars.
And these are all literally adaptations of George R. R. Martin writing at this point. Like, he wrote Dunk and Egg, he wrote House of the Dragons. These are things that exist that he wrote. So true. I wonder how malleable it is beyond that.
Well, he's also said, so he's written 3 of these novellas that they're going to do 3. And he also has said, in the way that Martin likes to talk about projects that never materialize, that he's got ideas for 10 or 12 other, short stories, novellas about these guys throughout their lives that he's never put down, but he's sort of just passed them on to the showrunner. So if it's a big hit and they want to keep going, he has outlines of what future seasons could be, or in the Vegas sense. Obviously, rocky track record of taking Martin's vague story points and trying to plow forward without him actually having plotted them out for you. But I don't know. I mean, certainly the idea was to be where Star Wars is by now. And I think just the problem with that is that the execution on House of the Dragon has been really rocky. I'm still
watching
smart
it
enough that
I'm still in on House of the Dragon despite a real bad last season.
Show should be so fucking good. Is the thing.
It should be. It's interesting to me that they've had these creative disappointments, big ones. Just famously disappointing end of the flagship series here. House of the Dragon, not quite getting it done. People, I think, are still on board though. We're all kind of just yeah, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, it worked. I'm surprised at the patience that we've got for this, and that I undeniably still have. That I'm still down for more stories here. I'm a little surprised by that.
That is analogous to Star Wars, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because, I mean, the prequels did at the time kind of run out people's patience a little bit, but not entirely.
I haven't watched a new Star Wars thing in a while, I got to tell you. I mean, they've really swamped, flooded the market there. And I would say that
I think you're just glossing right over Andor, not even considering it part of.
Shit, I did. How about that? Yes, yeah. I completely forgot that we were talking about this episode. But yeah, if you take Andor out, I don't think I've seen anything new from Star Wars in 5 years, probably. Yeah. But I certainly loved Andor.
Well, it's so interesting to me that I think one of the troubles with just making Westeros a setting like Star Wars that you could just kind of expand almost endlessly. Mm-hmm. You can almost do that, except the tonality of it.
It's true.
Is this very particular, very thorny thing that makes it a little hard to just kind of let people go off into a corner of it and cook and do their own thing. And Star Wars, you talked about in other contexts, it also contains so many genres that you can really do contained stories that happen to be a Western story, a military story, or
there's no kids' adventure going to happen in Westeros.
Well, that's Night of Seven Kingdoms is it.
I guess so. Closest you're getting. It still's got, you're still looking at images like poop coming out of a butt. I mean, we're still R-rated as all hell here, and in its tonality and what we're visually looking at, that's kind of nuts, I guess. But even still, I don't know. Is there further anywhere else to go in Westeros? Is my question. I mean, without Martin having written it explicitly, maybe not. But this does kind of suggest that you could kind of just endlessly do stories.
I don't know. The word "can" becomes kind of difficult to place here because it is possible. It is maybe harder than it looks, or harder than it would be comparatively in some other, cinematic universes that are broader. It's probably easier to do ongoing or one-off adventures set in Middle Earth than it is in Westeros, even though the Rings of Power has made it look harder than perhaps it needs to be.
I wonder if that's true, though. I mean, does the strictures of what we know about Westeros and the tone actually kind of provide a framework that makes it easier in a way.
I don't know. I think it's something that people has been oft imitated and not
that's true.
that frequently nailed.
That's right. Yeah.
I do think that the
Dune,
it's interesting
prophecy.
to me. Exactly. That's another one where I think it's the tone is difficult. And well, that's Dune and Game of Thrones both have baked in the sort of subversiveness about the heroic narrative. That means that the things that look like obvious expansions also have to include some like this kind of twist on it and undercut it in a way that one maybe loses power through repetition over time. But also you can't do as straightforward of a Dune story as you can a Star Wars spinoff where there's another evil space wizard and another good space wizard that's going to bat of them.
I mean, Dune was literally trying to do Game of Thrones. I mean, with like powerful houses and shit. You know, it was the entire playbook. It was very odd. I mean, I guess it makes sense though, if from a macro level. Well, we got this fantasy world here, or this sci-fi world, as it were, and we can kind of just endlessly tell stories about power dynamics with characters, kind of with hidden motivations and secret mystical powers and schemes. I guess it makes. I mean, well, no, from a business angle, it makes an enormous amount of sense. It just sort of course, I don't know. It seems impossible to do this forever. But that's true of anything, right? That's true of anything.
I mean, another thing that Night of Seven Kingdoms made a virtue out of something that I cited as something that's been a problem for House of the Dragon, which is, you were talking about how amazing it is that they stay in this one tournament the entire time, this one place the entire time. And because of that, they're able to, one, shoot outside. I think that you try and start pumping out lots and lots more Westeros content, the temptation to put people on the volume and put a cliffside behind them is going to be more and more, and that is bad for the overall effect. And that's been a problem for House of the Dragon, is it felt like to me anyway, they're blowing all their money on dragon fights, and then the humans have to stand around in the same 3 or 4 rooms endlessly because we're trying to limit the number of sets and the number of outside shooting days that we're doing.
There's a lot of issues with that show, but it seems I don't know, man. Just on a script level alone, it seems like they could have solved a lot of these problems. Whatever.
Oh, they could have. But we have episodes about that. Have you seen the trailer that just dropped for season 3?
Yeah, and I'm gonna watch it. I'm all in. Yeah, let's see what they do.
It does seem like that.
They have to start telling the good parts of the story at this point, right?
It was remarkable how they walked right up to the edge of what seems like it would be all the season finale material and then stopped. And
it's 2 more seasons. It's locked down. That's they've said we're doing 3 and 4, and that's it. So presumably it all has to happen. No.
If 3 completely rights the ship and suddenly it's like the hottest thing in the world, there's nothing to say again. We're going to break season 4 into 2 parts, and it's going to be 16 episodes instead of 10 or whatever. Like. They could easily do something like that if they wanted to, but right now I think that the people in charge are more looking to be like, could we make 10 episodes on 7 episodes worth of budget? Is probably the overriding concern there.
Well, I mean, ultimately the overriding concern probably should be brand management.
One would think.
Like let's make sure there's a level of quality to this, that it's what people want it to be. It seems to be more important than, well, frankly, the individual performance of the season. It just seems to be like, no, this can't turn bad. This can't just be a bad.
But that's also, like I was saying earlier, that's the thorny part with Game of Thrones, is making it into what people want it to be is kind of what Night of Seven Kingdoms is doing, which is something more crowd pleasing. There's a limit to how crowd pleasing you can make Game of Thrones before it stops being Game of Thrones.
Well, if they found that limit on Night of the Seven, I think I'm happy with that, though. Like they succeeded in parsing that line and figuring out where the exactly how far they can go. To
a degree, I would have not thought possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in that context alone, the show's probably a huge success. Maybe the most successful thing Game of Thrones related since I don't know, season 6 or so of the original series.
Probably. It is such an interesting connection with Andor too there, because like you were kind of citing, both of those franchises were kind of floundering with the fan bases, and both Andor and this show rehabilitated, it was at least a swath of fandom, rehabilitated the image of the franchise a bit by doing something very different with it. And with Andor, it's doing something so much darker.
More like Game of Thrones.
Than mainline Star Wars. And with Knights of Kingdoms, it's doing something so much lighter than mainline Game of Thrones.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, maybe I got to watch Wonder Man too. Where does that fall? Light, dark, relatively.
Most people seem to like it better than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I am just gonna. It's an amusing diversion of a show. It is way more interested in the plight of being a working actor on the edges of Hollywood than it is with anything related to superheroes and the Kang Dynasty.
I know Hollywood satire is not your favorite.
No, and like the MCU is not my preferred venue for it. Like they can't get that like venomous with it, you know, in there. No, but it's got Ben Kingsley doing Trevor Slattery, which
always
I think both of us are on record as thinking that's one of the great undersung performances of the 21st century at this point.
I mean, I could see going like that. It's too much. I could definitely see them pushing that character to a point where it's just like, oh yeah, you know, this is sticky. I'm done with him. You know, we could get there real easy, frankly. And I guess I'm maybe a little worried about that happening in Wonder Man, but apparently no, people like it. So you know, I'm gonna get around to it. I'm gonna watch all the MCU shows I didn't watch now before Endgame. That's sort of one of my goals this year. I don't know how real it's gonna be. Is he gonna be in Endgame? Is there room for Wonder Man?
Doesn't seem like it to me. I don't know why he is. No. Also, you're going to watch all of the Marvel streaming series? Like, I'm just Ron Burgundy with a cigarette here. I don't believe you.
No, it's time. Secret Invasion. It's going to happen.
Yeah. You can skip some stuff. You don't need to catch up on Secret Invasion or Ahsoka.
Is that part of the MCU now? It might be. That's Marvel
my
zombies.
Personal nadir of Star Wars stuff.
I never touched Ahsoka. Yeah. I have a slight interest in maybe trying Skeleton Crew one day, but Ahsoka, Acolyte, all that stuff, I'm just like, nah, not happening. Certainly not in the cartoons.
You don't need to. Like I said, Wonder Man had more something on like other people's reaction than mine.
Okay.
It seems like maybe you would like it more than I would, more than I did.
I like the studio very much. I've been watching that lately. Is it of that kind of? I mean, I imagine that's more scabrous. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, but it's mean, and it is Hollywood satire. So you know, not your fave again.
Yeah. I don't know what our next TV thing will be. We'll certainly do a House of the Dragon thing when that comes back, but that will be at least summertime, right?
June.
Oh wow. Okay, beginning of summer.
Yeah, but definitely going back to Westeros for that, and whenever season 2 of this comes out, I understand they're already shooting it, so probably in another year. You know, this seems like a quick turnaround show. It seems like
that is actually something really nice. That maybe that they're at least have an eye on the realities of like Stranger Thing realities of one of our main characters is 10 years old, and we can't do 2-year gaps between seasons if he's supposed to stay prepubescent for any part of this, so they're kind of hurrying it along, which means maybe we won't have 2-year waits between these short seasons.
It seems like this is a budgetarily, advantageous show in many ways. Like this, more people are going to watch this at a much lower price point than your usual Game of Thrones fare. So that must be appealing. And it's a hit now. So I imagine this is just going to run. Yeah. 3 years at least at this point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they're locked in for 3. And that should be good. We're getting more Andor, but we're not. And hopefully the House of the Dragon will right the ship a little bit in season 3. It seems like at the very least they are not going from the trailer. They're going to deliver the action that they pushed off from last year. It seems like they're not going to do the Shakespearean walk on stage and say, "Oh, what a battle that was." thing.
Yeah, if you say so. We'll see. Never put it past him. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll talk about more Game of Thrones as it develops, and then in the meantime, I don't know, more Terry Gilliam, more stuff like that.